Recognizing EENT airway obstruction patterns saves lives. Bilateral choanal atresia causes immediate respiratory distress since newborns are obligate nasal breathers. These babies turn pink with crying, blue at rest, your classic cyclic cyanosis pattern. Oropharyngeal obstruction stems from tongue-related issues or masses. Macroglossia physically blocks the airway, whether from Beck with vitamin or hypothyroidism. Micrognathia with glossoptosis, think Pierre Robin, allows the tongue to fall backward, obstructing the pharynx. Oral teratomas or cysts present dramatically at delivery, often requiring immediate airway control. Laryngeal causes manifest as stridor with varying patterns. Laryngomalacia produces inspiratory stridor that worsens with agitation. Subglottic stenosis creates biphasic stridor, often following prolonged intubation. Vocal cord paralysis may be unilateral, causing hoarse cry, or bilateral, causing severe obstruction. Each pattern guides your differential and urgency of intervention. Airway obstruction demands rapid recognition and intervention. Stridor tells you the location. Inspiratory suggests supraglottic. Expiratory indicates intrathoracic. Biphasic means fixed obstruction at the glottis or subglottis. Retractions demonstrate increased work of breathing. Suprasternal retractions suggest upper obstruction, while subcostal indicates lower airway involvement. Positional cyanosis provides critical diagnostic clues. Babies who desaturate supine but improve prone likely have glossoptosis. Color change with feeding suggests laryngeal penetration or aspiration. Immediate interventions buy time while planning definitive management. Position changes work for many. Prone or lateral positioning for Pierre Robin, upright for Laryngomalacia. Oral airways bypass tongue obstruction. Jaw thrust manually advances the mandible, pulling the tongue forward. Never hesitate to intubate when basic measures fail. The difficult airway in micrognathia or masses means preparation is essential. Have multiple blade sizes, consider awake intubation, and ensure surgical backup. Better to intubate electively than emergently. Bilateral choanal atresia creates an immediate neonatal emergency. The pathognomonic cyclic cyanosis, blue at rest, pink with crying, makes diagnosis obvious. Inability to pass a catheter through either nares confirms your suspicion. These babies need an oral airway immediately to bypass nasal obstruction. McGovern nipples provide temporary management by maintaining oral patency during feeding, but surgical repair remains definitive treatment. Timing depends on stability. Some require immediate repair, while others grow with conservative management until elective surgery. Always evaluate for charge syndrome in bilateral cases. The association is strong enough that choanal atresia triggers comprehensive evaluation for colobomas, heart defects, and other features. Early syndrome recognition guides family counseling and identifies additional organ system involvement requiring surveillance. Micrognathia management follows a stepwise progression. Positioning provides first-line therapy. Prone allows gravity to pull the tongue forward, while side-lying prevents posterior displacement. Never leave these babies supine unattended. Nasopharyngeal airways create a patent channel bypassing tongue obstruction, allowing many infants to feed and grow while awaiting mandibular catch-up growth. Early CPAP splints the airway open and may prevent need for more invasive interventions. Feeding often improves dramatically with proper positioning. The same position that opens the airway facilitates coordinated suck-swallow-breathe patterns. Many cases improve with growth, particularly isolated retrognathia. Serial evaluations every few months document progress. Severe cases with persistent obstruction, despite conservative measures, need mandibular distraction, a remarkable procedure that gradually lengthens the jaw over weeks, often avoiding tracheostomy. Charge syndrome affects multiple organ systems with variable expression. Major criteria include colobomas affecting 80%. Always check for iris or retinal defects. Choanal atresia appears in half, either unilateral or bilateral. Cranial nerve dysfunction causes facial palsy, swallowing difficulties, and sensorineural hearing loss. Characteristic ear anomalies include low-set, cup-shaped ears with absent semicircular canals. Minor criteria support diagnosis when major features are present. Cardiac defects range from simple ASDs to complex conotruncal anomalies. growth retardation, and genital hypoplasia reflect hypothalamic pituitary dysfunction. Tracheoesophageal fistulas appear frequently enough to warrant contrast studies with respiratory symptoms. CHD7 gene mutations confirm diagnosis in 90% of clinical cases. Early recognition allows comprehensive evaluation and family counseling about this complex condition requiring lifelong multidisciplinary care. Stickler syndrome's connective tissue defects create predictable problems across multiple systems. The ophthalmologic manifestations pose the greatest threat. High myopia progresses to retinal detachment in up to 60% without surveillance. Annual ophthalmology exams with peripheral retinal evaluation are non-negotiable. Early laser therapy prevents blindness. Craniofacial features include Pierre-Robin sequence in 30%, explaining the syndrome's prevalence in that population. Mid-face hypoplasia creates the characteristic flat facial profile. Both conductive hearing loss from middle ear effusions and sensorineural loss from cochlear abnormalities require regular monitoring. COL2A1 and COL11A1 mutations account for most cases, following autosomal dominant inheritance. Identifying Stickler syndrome in a Pierre-Robin baby changes everything, from immediate ophthalmology referral to genetic counseling about 50% recurrence risk. Missing this diagnosis risks preventable blindness in a child already facing multiple challenges. An absent red reflex is never normal and demands immediate ophthalmology consultation. Whether from cataracts, retinoblastoma, or vitreous hemorrhage, this finding requires urgent evaluation. A cloudy, enlarged cornea signals congenital glaucoma. The elevated pressure stretches the infant cornea, causing haziness and photophobia. This requires emergency ophthalmology referral for pressure reduction. Bilateral cataracts need surgical removal by 10 to 12 weeks to prevent irreversible vision loss from deprivation amblyopia. The visual cortex requires clear images during this critical period or permanent blindness results. ROP screening includes all infants 1,500 grams or less, or 30 weeks or less gestational age. Type 1 ROP demands treatment within 72 hours. Laser or anti-VEGF therapy prevents retinal detachment. Plus disease, with its tortuous dilated vessels, indicates severe ROP requiring urgent intervention. Bilateral choanal atresia creates immediate airway crisis. Newborns cannot breathe through their mouths except when crying. Inability to pass a 6 French catheter through the nares confirms the diagnosis. Place an oral airway immediately. Microtia signals likely canal atresia and conductive hearing loss, requiring comprehensive audiologic evaluation beyond standard screening. CMV remains the leading non-genetic cause of sensorineural hearing loss, often progressive. Screen with urine, CMV within 3 weeks of birth. After that, you cannot distinguish congenital from postnatal infection. Failed newborn hearing screens require diagnostic ABR by 3 months, with intervention by 6 months. This timeline preserves normal language development. Missing these deadlines results in permanent language delays despite later intervention. Cleft palate eliminates suctionability. These babies require specialized bottles using compression rather than negative pressure. Standard bottles and breastfeeding will fail. Pierre-Robin sequence combines micrognathia, glossoptosis, and cleft palate, creating variable airway obstruction. Recognition prevents positioning deaths. These babies deteriorate rapidly when supine. Prone positioning pulls the tongue forward via gravity, often avoiding invasive interventions. Macroglossia with hypoglycemia equals Beckwith-Wiedemann syndrome until proven otherwise. This recognition triggers glucose monitoring and lifelong tumor surveillance. Surgical timing follows established protocols. Cleft lip repair around 3 months when facial structures support precise reconstruction. Palate repair at 9 to 12 months, balancing speech development against maxillary growth. 3. EENT conditions create true airway emergencies requiring immediate action. Bilateral choanal atresia prevents nasal breathing. Place oral airway immediately. Severe micrognathia with glossoptosis threatens complete obstruction with positioning changes. Large tongue masses, whether tumors or lymphangiomas, can completely occlude the airway at delivery. Vision emergencies demand equally urgent response. An absent red reflex could indicate retinoblastoma. Delay risks metastasis. Cloudy cornea from congenital glaucoma causes irreversible optic nerve damage within days. Gonococcal conjunctivitis progresses to corneal perforation and blindness without immediate treatment. Early intervention transforms outcomes across all EENT conditions, whether placing specialized feeding systems for clefts, initiating tumor surveillance for syndromes, or ensuring hearing amplification by 6 months, timing matters. Recognition in the NICU triggers the cascade of interventions that prevent permanent disability. A premature infant born at 28 weeks gestation is now 6 weeks old. When should the first retinopathy of prematurity screening examination be scheduled? Already overdue, since screening should occur at 4 weeks of age. Now, as screening occurs at 31 to 33 weeks, post-conceptional age, when the infant reaches 1,800 grams, regardless of age. The correct choice is now, as screening occurs at 31 to 33 weeks post-conceptional age. This question is testing your knowledge of ROP screening guidelines, which is one of the most frequently tested topics on the certification exam. Already overdue is incorrect, because ROP screening is based on post-conceptional age, gestational age plus chronological age, not just chronological age from birth. The other choice is incorrect, because ROP screening is not based on weight thresholds after birth, but rather on gestational age, birth weight, and timing. A term newborn is examined in the nursery. When checking the red reflex, the examiner notices a white pupil, leukocoria, in the right eye. What is the most likely diagnosis? Coloboma cataract nasolacrimal duct obstruction. The correct choice is cataract. This question is testing your ability to recognize the classic presentation of congenital cataracts, which is a high-yield topic on the certification exam. Coloboma is incorrect because it typically presents as a keyhole-shaped pupil rather than leukocoria. Nasolacrimal duct obstruction is incorrect because it causes tearing and discharge, not a white pupillary reflex. A term infant presents with excessive tearing from both eyes beginning at 4 weeks of age. There is no conjunctival redness or purulent discharge. What is the most appropriate initial management? Apply topical antibiotics 4 times daily. Digital massage of the nasolacrimal sac and duct. Immediate ophthalmology referral for probing. The correct choice is digital massage of the nasolacrimal sac and duct. This question is testing your knowledge of nasolacrimal duct obstruction management, a common clinical scenario. Topical antibiotics are incorrect because there's no evidence of infection, just tearing. Immediate referral for probing is incorrect because most cases resolve with conservative management, and probing is only considered if obstruction persists. A term newborn is noted to have respiratory distress that worsens during sleep and improves when crying. The infant becomes cyanotic when quiet, but pink when crying. What is the most likely diagnosis? Choanal atresia, Laryngomalacia, tracheoesophageal fistula. The correct choice is choanal atresia. This question is testing your ability to recognize the classic presentation of choanal atresia, a high-yield airway disorder. Laryngomalacia is incorrect because it typically presents with inspiratory stridor that worsens when supine, but doesn't typically cause the cyclical cyanosis that resolves with crying. Tracheoesophageal fistula is incorrect because it typically presents with choking, coughing, and cyanosis during feeding, not the cyclical pattern described. An infant is noted to have severe micrognathia, glossoptosis, and a U-shaped cleft palate. The most appropriate initial positioning for this infant is left lateral recumbent prone positioning, supine with neck extension. The correct choice is prone positioning. This question is testing your knowledge of Pierre-Robin sequence management, focusing on how to maintain airway patency. Left lateral recumbent positioning is incorrect because although it's better than supine, prone positioning is most effective for allowing the tongue to fall forward in these infants. Supine with neck extension is incorrect and could be dangerous because it may worsen the airway obstruction caused by the posteriorly positioned tongue.